let's go. A Saturday edition of The Sweat, baby, presented by DraftKings. You were singing that song all morning long, and it is now stuck in my head. No. I am your host, everybody, Emerson Lazia. We are feeling it this morning. Steve Buchanan, Josh Applebaum, who did not bring in donuts after promising he would all week long. Anywho, Julian Edlow will also join us later, coming up in this show. A lot to get to, and only 2 hours to get to it. Here we go. Here's a little menu for you. College football best bets. First wave of rankings. College football playoff rankings have been released. Which teams may not be hanging around for too long? How about some college basketball? Season tips off Monday. Conference futures. Does Jules believe there are dogs destined to eat? And a World Series recap. Run it back in 2024. We'll tell you why that may not be such a great idea. Also, Judge Buchs is going to be in the house. Let's start, though, by working up a sweat here, gentlemen. So it's early. We're going to set the table for you and get you warmed up for a big day of betting and fantasy in the world of sports. Let's get loose. Let's see what you guys are looking at today. Josh, take it away. The floor is yours.
Opening take, Emerson. Can anyone hear that? Chugga, 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 chugga. Toot, toot. You know what that is,
chugga,
Emerson?
Chugga. Choo, choo.
That is the Victor Wembanyama bus leaving the station, or train, I should say, for the Rookie of the Year odds. That's right. That's my opening take. Now is the time, and maybe your last chance to bet Wembanyama Rookie of the Year. We went into the season, Emerson, knowing this guy was incredible. One of the biggest prospects we've seen since LeBron James. And now the betting market is really moving in his direction. We opened Wembanyama around minus 145 to win Rookie of the Year. Emerson, he has been great so far. Even his last game, out-dueling Kevin Durant. He put up 38 points, 10 rebounds.
That was hot, dude. That was their second straight win against the Suns, man.
And not only is he putting up these numbers, but this is a winning team. The Spurs are 3-2 so far this year, Emerson. So he opened minus 145. He is now up to minus 340. Now, on the one hand, it's like, hey, can you still bet Wembanyama? Minus 340 is a pretty big number. But think of it this way. The implied probability of him winning went from 59% to 77%. The next closest competitor is Chet Holmgren at plus 500. To me, Emerson, think of it this way. If you're going to risk $100 on Wembanyama to win Rookie of the Year, you're going to get back $30. Not a great value play, but also in terms of value, you got to look at where this number is going to move next. Again, minus 340 right now. If he continues on this pace, you could see a minus 500, minus 1,000. It's almost like Ohtani, targeting Ohtani early in the year before the line moves and gets out of hand. 20.6 points per game, 8 rebounds a game. I think this is your last chance before this number gets way too big. And Emerson, I'm going to get a little crazy this morning. MVP Wembanyama.
Are you serious?
Plus 4,000.
You would go that direction before you would, let's say, like Defensive Player of the Year for him?
So Jaren Jackson right now is the odds-on favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
I think that could be in the cards as well, Emerson. I'm just thinking of, hey, Wembanyama, get it now before it moves too much. But MVP, this is a value play. Do I expect him to win it? Probably not. Jokic, obviously Jason Tatum, Embiid, all in the conversation here. But at plus 4,000, does this become plus 2,000 before you know it? Plus 1,000. To me, this is just trying to get out ahead of this number. Little trivia question, Emerson. Only 2 players have won Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. Okay. It was a long time ago. You were just a young child. Okay. Wilt Chamberlain, 1960. Wes Unseld, 1969.
That was
when Wembanyama trains leaving the station, hit him now Rookie of the Year.
I mean, we can learn a lot about these awards that will be given out in the future by really looking at the past. Do you look at any of the previous seasons here with Rookie of the Year and like what this award is going to be based on? Is it just best stats? Is it rookie who makes the biggest impact on like a winning team? Is it who outperforms expectations the most?
So obviously Wembanyama expectations were huge for him coming in. So you have to perform even better just to exceed that. But to me, Emerson, again, we knew this kid was great coming in, but I'll be honest, seeing some of these videos of him stepping back, 7'4", draining a three. I mean, this is something we've never really seen in the NBA before. So again, last year, Banchero ended up taking it home. To me, this is a play that you either make now or you miss the number and it's going to be unbettable.
I mean, he's 7'4", right? It's this staggering size, and to see him take players like off the dribble and step into three-pointers from like Steph Curry range really defies everything that we would ever expect from a young player with his size. It is very impressive. And speaking of impressive, like Steve, I know you're not a huge NBA guy, but you are a big card guy. Like Wemby's value in this realm, in this department, has got to be sky high right now.
Yeah, so like I'm a big card collector, and we haven't even seen Wemby's true rookie card come out yet because we're still from last year's product. So last year's rookies are still right now. But like in like some of the lesser products which don't hold value or guys or like the college stuff, his stuff, like he had a out of 25 rookie card sold yesterday for $800. And like we're just talking about, that's not even his real rookie card at this point. So when those cards start to come out beginning of next year, that stuff is going to go absolutely bonkers. So if you're not looking to maybe place a bet on like an award, if you're looking to invest in something Victor Wembanyama, like cards are going to be coming out in the next few months. I mean, those are like stocks, right? Like obviously they go up and down. Huge market for him. Those cards are going to be going absolutely bonkers when those come out.
Okay, so for anyone who is not super familiar with like the whole card side of things, right now you would recommend possibly going out, pursuing it, investing in one, and then hanging on to it for a little while.
I mean, I would say if you're looking to invest, you wait until those products come out next year, because right now, like we're getting like him in his draft uniform or like his college uniform. Those aren't going to hold as big of a value moving forward. Once next year, him coming out in that Spurs uniform, those cards come out, that's where the money's going to be. It's going to be absolutely bonkers when those cards come out.
All right, so what direction do you want to take us in here for working up a sweat? What is like your take of the day, your opening take here on the sweat?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the NFL board, waiting like to start placing your bets tomorrow, as the board stands as of Saturday morning right now, this is an unbelievable teaser board for this upcoming week. There are so many good options that you can go to for a 2-team teaser, a 3-team teaser. I'd say probably stay with a 2-team teaser, but like there are so many options you can tease up and down right now. Dolphins, you can get them up to 7.5. Commanders, you can get them up to 8.5 against the Patriots. That should be easy. You can get the Baltimore Ravens, tease them down to basically win out. Bears, you can get them up to 14.5 going up against the Saints. There's just so many options. Panthers to get them to 8. Like this is probably the best teaser board that I've seen all season long thus far in the NFL. So I think this is going to be a week for me. I'm going to be going really heavy on some of these teasers here, but you're passing through so many key numbers in spots that you feel good about, like the Commanders and the Dolphins and the Panthers against their opponents. So I love this week for teasers. I think this is a really strong week to do that. So I think if you want to do that, now's probably the time, because we could see some movement here. Obviously, we see a lot of movement on these Sunday mornings or whatnot, but this is such a strong week for teasers that it's going to be hard to pass up for me.
Yeah, and speaking of Sunday mornings, that's when the Dolphins and Chiefs are going to kick
early
off.
morning,
Kick off tomorrow morning. They're going to be in Germany. I believe that's a 9:30 a.m. kickoff here on the East Coast in the States. So I know you talked about teasing, but Kansas City on the DK Sportsbook right now, a slight 1.5-point favorite. Steve, both these teams have been very strong, too, like covering the spread. Do you have an early lean here? Because Miami tied for a league best 6-2 ATS. Chiefs 5-3 ATS.
No, I love the Dolphins here. I'm going to take them tease them up at 7.5. I think that's the spot that I'm going to take the Dolphins here for this game. Like, it's not... It's odd because of as good as they have been, I think this is the 4th time that they've been underdogs heading into a game so far, but they've been elite at covering these spreads so far this season. And that's been a big thing for Kansas City too. Kansas City over the past couple of years has not been a good team at ATS. That has changed. They've been really good against the spread so far this season thus far. But I like this, teasing this up, get the Dolphins past a touchdown here, getting them at 7.5. I think that's going to be my first teaser leg for the week this week, and then probably going to pair them with the Commanders. I like pairing them with the Commanders, getting them at plus 8.5. I know they got rid of, half of their defensive line, which would have been great to go against Mac Jones, but Mac Jones hasn't even been good with a clean pocket, let alone under pressure. So I'm not really worried about him. Obviously having those pass rushers would be great, but Mac Jones hasn't been good with a clean pocket or under pressure. So Dolphins 7.5, Commanders 8.5. That's my teaser leg.
Miami impressed, Josh, in beating New England for sure, but they have not knocked off a team with a winning record yet, like this season. Thoughts on maybe taking them just on the money line here?
Yeah, definitely could be worth a look. You're getting a plus money payout there, Emerson. I look at it a couple ways. I think I agree with Steve. This is a teaser opportunity. There's a great teaser board this weekend. One that caught my eye would be Carolina, too. They're plus 2.5 at home against Indianapolis Colts. I don't think Minshew should be laying a number there, so Carolina tease them up. But in terms of this game, Miami, Kansas City, you're in that teaser zone. 1.5, take it 6, up to 7.5. That's really a way a lot of wise guys really attack teasers. They'll quote-unquote Wong teaser, going through multiple key numbers. It's interesting to me, though, in a couple different directions. Like, it's undeniable the smart money here is on Miami. You had the look-ahead line as high as Chiefs, like -6. Now we got kind of a reopener around like 5.5, 4. Now it's down, to 2 or 1.5. This was 2 just about 24 hours ago, down to 1.5. So the line is going to Miami. We have seen Tua do very well in this spot covering numbers. Tua's 11-7 against the spread as a dog, 61%. But I'm also kind of wary of maybe is it a buy low opportunity on the Chiefs? I mean, you're getting them at a really short number on the money line. You you really never lay, a minus, 130 on the Chiefs. Mahomes off a loss in his career is 10-7 against the spread, 59%. My angle, Emerson, I'm going to look toward the under. Now, a lot of factors here, and you look at this spot, and it's like, hey, two great offenses. They're going to score a ton, take the over. Okay. But the public's on the over, 74% of bets, yet this total has fallen. It opened as high as 52.5. It's down to 50. It was 51, 50.5 just about 24 hours ago. So movement toward the under. We've seen unders this year, 60%. Unders that fall at least half point are 63%. And when the total is very high, 49 or more, the under is 8-2, 80%. And Steve, I don't want to, explode your head too early in the program here, but we have wind in Germany, my man.
We do not. It's not windy in Germany.
Stadium, 20 miles per hour, Emerson.
Oh, that's quite windy.
That'll be a windy under system match across the pond.
Yeah, total.
We're off to a good start until the weather got involved.
Touche. By the way, the highest of the Week 9 slate here for the Dolphins. The over is 5-3 on the year, just 2-6 for the Chiefs. All right, folks, college basketball season, it tips off on Monday. Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks, too, are sitting atop the preseason polls right now. Julian will join us next to hand out his favorite conference futures.
What is it about this team that stands out right now from the teams you've had in the past?
I don't want to be negative. So there's some good things about it. We can score in the post better than we have in some of our other teams in the past. But we should not get this too twisted, as Russell Westbrook said. This team hasn't done anything close to what our other teams in the past ended up doing. So hopefully we can play to the level as some other teams in the past. But right now, we just have that potential tag around our neck, which is, it's good to have potential because that means there is possibilities. But potential also means you haven't done anything yet, and certainly that's where this team lies.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a long offseason, college basketball is finally back, tipping off Monday. No one is more excited about it than our very own Julian Edlow. How are you?
Good. It was a normal length offseason. Generally ends
it feels
in the
long,
final,
dude.
And then it starts back up again in November, but we're here.
Yes, we are. 352 teams are set to begin their journey to Glendale. Kansas ranked atop the polls. We just heard from Bill Self. Doesn't mean much to him right now. We know about that disappointing finish last year, second round exit in the big dance. How are you viewing Kansas this year?
I kind of like that second round exit out of March Madness to a really talented Arkansas team, and one that we're going to talk about later in the segment. But get them hungry for this year. Get the Jayhawks hungry to go on a run this year, and they got the bodies to do it. They have Harris back, veteran senior point guard who's played in some huge games, won a natty there. And then you bring in a guy like Hunter Dickinson from Michigan. That's the number one transfer in the nation. This is a guy that could win National Player of the Year coming in, and you put him next to guys, Adams in that front court, who had been the bouncy center, now gets to play some four, probably more of his natural position. Kevin McCullers, the Texas Tech transfer that has been playing at Kansas now and familiar with the system. This is a veteran team that is really good. Now, of course, the Big 12 is deep, and you got Houston coming in, who's a dangerous team.
SMU?
Nope. Texas, Baylor, those are the good teams. Yeah, nope. UCF is literally 200-1.
Okay.
They're not going to win.
That's okay.
Some of those other teams, there's going to be good competition here, but at 2-1, I think Kansas is going to be the regular season champ here, and a team that we can talk about in the futures market going even deeper.
All right, you teased Arkansas. Let's talk about that right now. You mentioned a few weeks ago, too, on this show how much you like them.
They were a hidden jewel.
Indeed. I love that segment. Anywho,
who doesn't?
Enough to back them winning the SEC, Julian.
Hogs up, baby. Plus 800 to win the SEC. There's a lot of good competition here, just like the Big 12. But I think we're getting too good of a number here to pass up on Arkansas. We know the job that Eric Musselman has done with this team in the past. We look at the turnover here. They lose some guys. They lose plenty of guys in the top 10 first-round NBA draft picks. But Brazil, the big guy, is back. Debo Davis, veteran guard, is back. And they bring in a bunch of Mickey D's All-Americans.
6 guys in the portal, too, that they went out and grabbed.
Yep. They bring in a guard from Temple who's really good. They bring in Louisville's best scorer. Obviously not a great program there, but L. Ellis, really good player. They brought in a lot of dudes, both transferring to fit with some of their senior guys that they have, and they always reload with freshman talent. Again, Tennessee's really good. Kentucky's really good. There's teams you got to deal with, but at 8-1, give me Arkansas.
I mean, Razorbacks, one of 5 SEC teams in the top 25 preseason rankings here. Let's go out west. Always fun little back and forth here between the Zags and St. Mary's for the WCC title. Who has the edge this time around? What do you think?
Well, it has not been back and forth because Gonzaga wins it every freaking year. But
yeah,
St. Mary's,
so some people say, though, St. Mary's this year, with how deep they are, this could actually be the season that they overtake the Zags.
Yes. So Gonzaga, they're losing their magic little bit.
They're done.
Timmy time after what seemed like 12 years is obviously no more. So that is not an option for the Zags this year. Julian Strother, a first-round pick, sharpshooter, great name. So I think that Gonzaga is going to take a little step backwards this season, whereas St. Mary's brings back a lot of guys, most notably Aiden Mahaney, very good guard, one of the best guards in the nation. So Zags have been dominant. I think St. Mary's at plus 130. I think this is their year that they overtake Gonzaga, and then Gonzaga will probably reload. It won't last long, but this year is the one year St. Mary's can overtake them in the West Coast
Like them
Conference.
to outlast the Bulldogs in March, baby, and claim that auto bid. All right, all the talk about conference realignment, it surrounds football here, but it will be very interesting to see how it plays out on the court for sure, especially with travel. So who's winning the last Pac-12 championship?
I think the favorite's winning the last Pac-12 championship, and that's Arizona plus 200. You look down the board, like I think UCLA took one of the biggest steps back in the country. They lost so many guys off of that team that went to the Final Four and surprised everybody a while back and kept all that talent for such a long time. Now they're all, in the NBA looking for minutes there. I just think UCLA took a huge step back. And then beyond that, Oregon isn't what it once was. USC is probably the next closest, and that the odds reflect that at plus 300. But that team needs some work. I'm not ready to say that USC is the best in the Pac-12. So Colorado would be the team that I think can give, and they're at 7-1, can give Arizona the best push here. But Arizona, Ballo, the big man, is back.
Yep.
Lawson, who was the sixth man of the year in the Pac-12, he's going to be thrust into a much bigger role. They got guards, and they bring in Caleb Love, the scorer from UNC, who is going to bring them a wing element that they haven't had. So give me the Wildcats 2-1 in the Pac-12.
Definitely boost their ceiling significantly. So kind of motivated there by that loss to Princeton, proving to everybody it was just a fluke.
Well, it was a fluke. I don't even know if they have to prove that.
Was it a fluke? Yeah, you tell me.
Those teams that exit early in March generally come back with a little bit more of a motivating factor.
Okay, Big Ten will have a whole new look this year as well. Which team will get the automatic bid before they are joined by multiple really good basketball programs?
Yeah, everybody wants to talk about Purdue. They get Edey back. The young guards are a year older. Get out of here. Give me Michigan State, a real team. Purdue was not a fluke. They will choke every March going down to that 116 game.
I just look at Edey and I'm like, that guy's a large basketball player.
He is large, but not as large as Tom Izzo and Sparty.
Okay,
3-1 there. They bring back maybe the best backcourt in the nation with Walker and Hogard. They bring back veteran bigs. They have wings. They have everything it takes. They have the coach. They have a program that thrives in March. I think they're going to win that regular season. And this is another one of those teams like Kansas that I think can make a deep run and is worth putting some money on in the futures market beyond just the conference.
So Michigan State has a legitimate answer for Edey?
Yeah, I mean, no. They don't have a guy
Who does?
Nobody has a guy that's just going to guard them one-on-one. You have to beat them in other ways. Make those guards the scorers. Okay. Don't give them paths to get Edey the ball. And if you do, don't let them get up a bunch of threes. They can figure it out.
Okay, last year's champ, UConn Huskies, plus 280 here behind Marquette in the Big East futures market to win the conference. Their Cinderella run last year really didn't include a Big East championship game appearance either. Think they have a better regular season and conference tournament this year? What are the expectations there?
I think there's 4 teams I would bet before UConn in the Big East. Remember, they went pretty much undefeated outside of conference play, but struggled in the Big East last year during conference play. That's why they were a 4 seed, and ultimately we saw them dominate late. But Marquette is really, really good. Dude, Creighton is really, really good.
I saw that Marquette is returning 85% of its minutes from a year ago. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and Tyler Kolek, Rhode Island kid, is going to be in the National Player of the Year conversation.
Rhode Island guy.
So Marquette, Creighton was really good last year. They're going to be really good again at 3-1. St. John's at 13-1. Rick Pitino. I would rather bet them at 13-1 than UConn at plus 280. However, the one I'm going to give out here is Villanova, plus 550. No Jay Wright, so they're getting slept on, and they had a bad year last year. They bring back Justin Moore. They bring back Dixon. They have a sophomore point guard running the show, and they bring in a ton of transfers. Bamba from the Pac-12. They bring in Tyler Burton from Richmond, who averaged 19 points per game last season. The Spiders. They bring in some serious talent. I think they're going to have a really good year. I think at plus 550, Villanova's worth a look.
All right, as of this moment, which other conference futures are you eyeing?
Yeah, not a ton, but I think New Mexico in the West Coast Conference is potentially worth a look. Everybody's going to be looking at San Diego State. FAU, the Final Four run.
Baby.
They're in the
salute the hoot.
They're in the AAC now. I think they should be favored as they are over this Memphis team. Potentially worth a look.
Okay. Any opening day leans here? I know we open up on Monday, but maybe either Monday or Tuesday. What are we thinking?
Monday night, I initially was potentially looking at K-State. I am laying 3 points with USC. Give me the Trojans. That game is out in Vegas. You look at K-State. They lost their 2 scorers in Johnson and Noel from last year that gave them that magical run. And then their best player returning, who withdrew from the NBA draft, their starting center, he's suspended. He can't play right now. I think USC has a lot of advantages in this game. I'll gladly lay 3.
All right, very quickly, how are you approaching Final Four and championship futures right now before the season?
I'm just looking at who I think the 2 best teams are. I'm not doing anything too sneaky, and I think that's Kansas and Michigan State. So those are the 2 teams. I've used some boosts, some bonus bets, whatever you got laying around in that DK Sportsbook account. Taking those 2 teams, and we'll see where we're at in March.
Big bonus bet guy.
Yeah, you are. You don't like using real money.
No, I certainly do not. Life is monopoly to me. That'll do it for our college basketball conversation. Thank you so much, Jules. We need to take a 240-second timeout right now. On the other side, yes, we will be talking a little bit of baseball. Shout out to the Rangers winning their first ever World Series, and what other MLB futures are on Steve Buchanan's menu.
how we work. That's why I show up every day. I show up every single day ready to play because I want to be right here. I'm going to continue that. We all want more, but that's why I show up.
I'm from the Houston area, and I grew up an Astros fan. For me, I grew up watching the Killer Bees and, going to the Astrodome games and enjoying that time with my dad. And, now, but to be over here and be a part of the Rangers organization and be able to bring that first World Series championship to us, it's an incredible moment, incredible feeling. Isn't it the only team out there that says Texas? You're playing for the state, you're not playing for the city. So for us to be able to represent the state of Texas, it's an incredible feeling. And
the Rangers' long nightmare is finally over, Steve. 62 seasons, and after several heart-wrenching losses in the Fall Classic, Texas wins its first World Series title on Wednesday night. What impressed you the most about their performance against Arizona?
And there's really a lot of things that you can hit on. But
For sure.
One thing I think that's important to note is mid-September, we didn't even know if this team was going to make it.
Incredible.
Seattle had that strong run where they had the division locked up, it seemed like, for a little while. Houston ended up winning 4 games in a row, I think, to knock the Rangers out of the division, put them in the wild card, which obviously put them at a disadvantage, but it didn't matter at the end of the day. But they are now the 3rd team in Major League Baseball history that have won a World Series within 2 years of losing 100 games. First time since 1969. That's incredible.
I wanted to ask you, their blueprint to finding success. What was it, and why is it their willingness to spend cash and be aggressive?
And here's the thing, too. It's we have seen so many times that teams have gone out there, spent all this money, and it wasn't worth it.
Like the Padres, who are taking out loans
Great
now.
example. Fantastic example.
Players.
But 2 years ago, this Rangers team went out there, spent $500 million on Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, and it was okay, these are going to be the cornerstones of your offense the next couple of years. Seager was 2nd in home runs this year. Both these guys are top 3 in RBI. They went out there, spent money, and actually got back what they went out there and intended to do. And this is all in between Jacob deGrom only throwing 30 in a third innings during this regular season. If you were to tell me that their biggest offseason acquisition was only going to throw 30 innings this season and they would still go on to win the World Series, that's just absolutely remarkable.
And they were so damn good on the road. They won 11 straight games away
all their road games.
Away from home this postseason. That's the longest road winning streak in MLB postseason history here. As for the Diamondbacks, their thrilling, improbable postseason run obviously comes to a heartbreaking end for them, and it's manager Torey Lovullo who is shouldering all of the blame.
I'm just sorry. I'm sorry I didn't do my job to get us there. But I will. We all will. And we know they're out there. We love them. They can say what they want to us in the good times and the bad, but we know what they want. They want a world championship as badly as we do. We all bleed Sedona red.
So Arizona finished an abysmal 0 for 9, I believe, with runners in scoring position. That was in Game 5 alone. Where does that sit on the list of what went wrong for him in the Fall Classic?
Here's a couple things, too. if we're being brutally honest. This was just such a mismatch, especially offensively. When you look at what Texas does well, they hit for power. They did this the entire season. 8 home runs in that World Series through 5 games compared to just 3 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Half of the Rangers' extra base hits during the World Series were home runs. So they have the ability to put up numbers fast, and that's what they did all season long. So you couple all the power that the Rangers had, and then the Diamondbacks' inability to knock guys in with men in scoring position. It's just a recipe for disaster here. But what Arizona did well is that they steal bases. They have a lot of speed on that team. They were 2nd in stolen bases during the regular season here. But it's great when you can get those guys in scoring position, but you need to bring them home, and that's not what the Diamondbacks were doing. Texas does not run. They just put up these crooked numbers, and at the end of the day, that's really what the difference was here, too. Arizona didn't have enough firepower to combat with Texas, because quite frankly, Arizona's pitching was phenomenal during that series.
Zach Gallen, for crying out loud, had the guys no hit in the first 6 innings of Game 5.
Right, and that's what's really disappointing, too, is that Gallen put in by far his best performance, because he was someone that was getting knocked around during these playoffs.
He
Put
was.
in by far his best performance in Game 5, gave literally the Diamondbacks best chance to bring them back within this series, and the Diamondbacks could just not do it. But truly, like, they just were not, they were just simply overmatched.
No,
is what
you're
it came
exactly
down to.
right. They generated plenty of traffic against like Eovaldi, and yet their inability to really notch even that one clutch hit is going to haunt them for months to come. And speaking of the months to come here, which team right now do you think gets back to the World Series first, Rangers or D-backs?
Yeah, so we got the odds up on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yep.
You can bet, futures already.
So plus 900 to repeat for the Rangers here, and then plus 300 now for the D-backs.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Diamondbacks, for them to even make it this far was incredible. Like, everything just had to fall their way for them to get there. They're a good team. They're not a great team. So I'm really kind of curious what this offseason is going to look like now for Arizona. Like, you can't just go into the offseason and do next to nothing at this point. Like, you were never supposed to be here to start with. And they have such a young core group of guys like Corbin Carroll, like Alec Thomas, like Brandon Pfaadt, like all these guys that can carry you into another postseason berth. But you need to surround these guys with some veteran power guys too as well. Like I mentioned, like that was the biggest thing that was lacking, was that they didn't have any power on that team aside from really Christian Walker, Corbin Carroll, and Ketel Marte, but those weren't huge power guys either. So, asking who's has a better chance of making it, obviously it's the Rangers.
Yeah.
But as of right now, like Arizona is intriguing. I really want to see what they do this offseason here, because I think they're a team that can make the playoffs again. I just don't think they're going to make the dance.
I mean, here's the thing. Baseball isn't really that simple because no team has won consecutive World Series in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So it might be wise to bet on a different team to win the championship. And right now, Steve, whose number really stands out to you on the DK?
I mean, I'll tell you what. Do not be placing World Series bets right now. Like, so much is going to change over the next few months. We haven't even really started free agency. It's been a couple moves here and there. Guys accepting contracts, opting out of contracts. Nothing groundbreaking has really started. I think that really officially starts on Thursday is when the actual moves can start to be made. As of right now, though, if you were to ask me who I do like to potentially go there, I love Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to continue to be a huge, mainstay in the playoff picture for the next 4 to 5 years at least, because that's a team that what they have, they're kind of like Arizona. They have all those youth guys. They need some veterans in there. They need to add some veteran starters to that mix, and I think that's what's going to really put them over the edge and be a serious contender, because obviously they went into the playoffs, barely made any noise, and they were out early. If they can add a couple of veteran starters to that rotation to go along with the youthful offense that they have, that's going to be a real force coming up. So 16-1 right now for the Orioles. Again, I'm not betting any World Series numbers right now. You shouldn't be either without knowing what any of these free agents are going to go to. But as it stands right now, Baltimore 16-1. That's a pretty nice number.
Yeah, the young core is going to be 1 year older here, and I think that unit will be even hungrier after that unsuccessful adventure into the postseason that ended, by the way, at the hands of the Rangers. Refreshing everyone here on the award circuit, like really quick.
Boring.
Right? Because, all right, so tell me, like, most of these races and these major awards were kind of decided like months ago. Which ones were the closest, do you think?
I mean, the National League MVP, I guess.
Okay.
Like, in the middle of August, it really was kind of flip-flopping back and forth between Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna. In mid-August, if you were really kind of paying attention to this.
These are the odds of where they started as we approach award season here. It's going to be like, I think about a week and a half away, they'll all be announced.
Yeah, so obviously Blake Snell is going to be the biggest long shot to win. He's definitely going to wrap up the NL Cy Young there. But if you were paying attention to this in mid-August, like, there was great hedging opportunities between Acuna and Mookie Betts. Like, if you were like really watching that market day to day, like, you were absolutely able to hedge your bet and be able to come ahead in the NL MVP market. Obviously, Acuna ended up taking that down in mid-September, really started to run away with it, but it was going back and forth between Acuna and Betts. Like, it was to a point where almost every other day it was plus odds for the other player, when then it would flip back and then the other player would be favored. So there was that there, but talking about the awards this year, this has to be the worst year for awards, because there's just no, barring a major surprise.
Yes.
everything was wrapped up by early September at this point. The only other close one that could have been was the American League Rookie of the Year, and that was looking like Josh Jung for a while. I think at one point he ended up at minus 400. Obviously had that injury to his thumb or his he had a hand injury, and that just completely knocked him out of the race. He ended up falling to like 45 to 1. Gunnar Henderson was the guy in second place, took it over there, never kind of looked back after that. But what an awful year for awards if you're trying to sweat a bet. You either have it or you don't at this point.
And then just quickly here, just your thoughts on the upcoming free agent class. We mentioned, Blake Snell should win his second Cy Young here, and he's going to be a free agent.
Yeah, this free agent class isn't great. Like the obviously big one here is Shohei Ohtani, but what's his contract going to look like because of the UCL injury? That's going to really kind of change things too.
He's going to be off the mound for a couple seasons here.
So we got Bellinger, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. It's going to be interesting, but this is going to be a year where people are really, really overpaying for pitcher this offseason.
Yeah, is there a team that is like one move away from really becoming a serious contender?
Baltimore. If they land
so get those pitchers.
Yeah, Montgomery or Aaron Nola, I think that puts them over the hump.
Okay, good stuff, Steve. Appreciate it, man. Coming up after this break, folks, Jules is going to return for a little chit-chat about his best college football bets for today and how the college football rankings impacts his navigation of the futures market. sweat has returned, and so have the college football playoff rankings. So this past week, we got our first glimpse at how the committee stacks up this year's contenders, and the dudes over on Gojo and Golic would like a word.
Listen, it's the first ranking. It doesn't really matter. To me, it was more who is just on the outside looking in, because if I'm going by who I think is by my eye test, and I know you have the different criteria to look at, I would almost put Ohio State fourth behind these other teams, because I truly know they do have the two best wins over number 11 Penn State and number 15 Notre Dame. Penn State I don't think is as good as people think, and I think we'll find out when they play Michigan as well. So, but as I said, it doesn't matter because Ohio State and Michigan are playing. Florida State runs a table they're in. We can sit there and wait for a team like Alabama, if they make it to the SEC championship game, to play Georgia if Georgia gets by Missouri this week. I know a game you're calling, Mike. So to me, it was seeing Washington and Oregon and Texas at 5, 6, and 7, how those teams stack, because rarely do we see the first four be the final four.
Julian Edlow, you are back. Sneaky, sir. So Golic Sr. just saying he would actually put Ohio State 4. Georgia, Michigan take the top spots in the AP and coaches polls, but it's the playoff committee that opted to go with the Buckeyes. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, these betting boards are based off of projections and what we think is going to change between now and the college football playoff. The rankings are based off what these teams have done. Ohio State has the best resume. They should be number one at this point because of what they have done. They've got the Penn State win. They've got the road win at Notre Dame. This is a good team. Do I project them to ultimately finish 1? No. I don't think they're going to be in the top 4. I think that's going to be one team from this conference, and that's going to be Michigan. But based on what these teams have done, you can only rank them based on the teams that have been put in front of them. And Ohio State's passed every test to date, so that's why they are what they are.
Yeah, and like if you aren't happy with the top 25 here on October 31st, do not worry. It's all going to work itself out on the field the next few weeks. This is probably going to change week in and week out here. So following the first set of playoff rankings here, futures you're looking at right now, Oregon stands out to you?
Yeah, it's not like we're getting in at the best
First
time.
team out right now. Of the top 4.
Not like we're getting at them at the best time in terms of how much the numbers have shifted. They've been like cut in half since last week. They went to Utah and pounded the Utes in that game. That was ugly for a team that's really good at home, really well coached. That impressed me. That's all I need to see. This team, you look the rest of the way out, they're 24-plus point favorites against Cal this week. The USC look-ahead line is up on DK Sportsbook when Oregon hosts USC. It is 12.5 on the look-ahead line favoring the Ducks at home. This team should be favored double digits the rest of the way out, finish with 4 more wins, be 11-1, go into the Pac-12 title game, and likely face a Washington team that I did bet preseason that I like a lot, but Oregon's been the better team. They arguably could have won that game on the road. Now you get a revenge spot in Vegas in the Pac-12 championship game. I think getting even money on Oregon now to win the conference is a great bet. And if you're in there, they're probably, if you go 12-1 and beat Washington, you're probably going to get in there somehow with one of these teams sliding out. So you can take them at 14-1 to win it all and figure that out later.
So Washington's really the first team out. Then there's Oregon at 6. So you're going to really need someone ahead of them to slip up. And these other two teams, the Pac-12 teams, are going to have to continue to win with style points, right?
Washington could have a loss somewhere on there, and it could even be now against USC. But I think Oregon's the safest team to project to win out and be in position to be a 12-1 Pac-12 champ with a revenge win over Washington.
Okay, so it is kind of crazy. We're only talking like 4 weeks left here in the regular season.
But a lot's going to change.
So yes, for sure. Let's rip through some of the games that you actually like on today's slate, starting with Notre Dame's tough schedule, continuing with a stop at a disappointing Clemson team here. So what you got for us? Because Dabo Swinney went on that 3-minute rant earlier this week.
Wasn't it like 11 or 12 minutes?
I think
entertaining
it was like
a caller that told him he shouldn't have his job. That's
because the caller's like, dude, you're making 8 figures and the team sucks. And he's like, well, hold on a second. It's like, no, the caller actually made a pretty decent point.
If you feel the need to respond that long to
angry
radio caller, then I feel like you got some distractions.
Yeah, so does that have his team extra motivated today against Notre Dame?
We'll find out early, I feel like. But so we've talked a lot of sharp home dogs on this program all season. Josh and I both had Florida down in the swamp. against Tennessee. Last week I had NC State at home against Clemson. The list goes on and on. Pitt, when they were looking awful against Louisville and they get the home upset. Like, we've seen these spots all season. I can't do it today. You have to have some kind of balance, and you have to know when to ride with the public. I'm going to ride with the public here on Notre Dame and lay the points on a road favorite. Clemson just doesn't have it, man.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have it. The coach doesn't have it. Notre Dame is coming into this one. They can still finish 10-2 and have a really good year. I think they match up well. I think running the ball, Notre Dame should see a lot of success. I think the defense matches up well with what Clemson's going to try and do. Clemson's down an important wide receiver. That's really hurt the passing game. Shipley is dinged up, the running back that kind of does it all for them and keeps that offense together. I think that could hurt Clemson a lot. This is one of those spots I know everybody's going to say, why is Clemson so short? It stinks. Plug your nose. You got to take the home dog. This is one I have to go the other way on.
Time for Dabo to fully embrace the transfer portal now, man.
He doesn't take transfers.
Yeah,
He's just like, we're doing this old school. We'll
totally
be fine.
don't get it. Let's dive into that Washington-USC matchup you've already mentioned, featuring possibly the top 2 quarterbacks in the nation. What's your bet du jour here?
Yeah, so I initially leaned Washington. I'm not going to take a side in the game. I will be rooting for Washington because I still have those Pac-12 tickets, and I want to see Washington and Oregon head-to-head, a game that I will be at
Washington's
out in
failed to
Vegas.
impress in each of the last 2 games, really.
They've been bad, but so has USC. They snuck by 50-49 against Cal and probably should have lost the game on a late no call. What do these teams do? They rack it up on offense and they have terrible defenses. USC more terrible than Washington, I would say, but the total has, I got it early at 71.5. It's gone up 4-5 points. I see no reason this game shouldn't be played in the 40s on both sides. So, like a Colorado USC total that went flying up and we still said just take the over, I'll still take the over here. I think we're going to see those points.
LSU and Alabama, how will Bama contain Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I've got some LSU to win the SEC preseason. I've got some LSU look-ahead line plus 7.5 for this game. But now it's down to 3. Alabama's picking up some steam after that sloppy start to the season. I like the Crimson Tide here, and you can lay the 3. My favorite bet in this game is the team total. I bet it over 31.5 early in the week. Gave it out on the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Put it in our DK Network betting group. I like it up to 33.5, 34.5. Like, they're going to score. The one thing that I'm most confident on in this game, LSU's defense stinks. Alabama's offense has been getting it together. What does Jalen Milroe do best? He throws the deep ball best. LSU's without its 2 cornerbacks in this game. Send some dudes deep at home in Tuscaloosa. Revenge spot for Saban against Brian Kelly. Going to LSU last year, losing by 1 in overtime on a 2-point conversion. I think it's a great spot for Bama. I think given those college football playoff rankings, they're going to run the score here and they got to find their way in here. They're going to have to stay undefeated and beat Georgia, but it starts with putting up a big number on LSU on Saturday night.
Daniels can become the first quarterback to beat Nick Saban in consecutive years since Purdue's Drew Brees beat him twice during his coaching tenure at Michigan State, which is insane. So
he can, but he won't.
There we go. This weekend's also about rivalries that will be lost through Big 12 realignment. So we have Kansas State facing Texas here. What do you like?
I lean to K-State here, and it's not something that I've played, but I have some Texas futures in the Big 12, so this is not a bad point to hedge those if you have any with a K-State plus 4. Maybe we get lucky, Texas wins by 3, they advance, they're in position that we want them to be, and you could get that cover with the Wildcats. So this is one, Texas without Quinn Ewers. When are they going to take a step back? Probably against elite competition. This is their first game going up against a really good team without him. So I expect things to look a little bit different for Texas. Can they grind it out and win? Maybe, but I got to take points in this one if I'm playing it.
Kind of crazy. The Wildcats have won their last 2 games by a combined score of 82-3 here. As for other
not against Texas, but
I know. Just pointing out a fact.
Thank you for the fact.
Other futures you have your eye on. You're showing some love for undefeated Air Force.
Yeah, minus 120 on DK Sportsbook to win the Mountain West. I really like this one. They're massive favorites again today. And you look at the board, I don't know where the loss is coming. And if it does, it's 1, and they're still in that conference championship game. And in this conference, you host that title game. So I'll play Air Force minus 120 now, and I think come championship Saturday on December 2nd, we're sitting there with an Air Force minus 120 money line ticket in pocket at home in a game they're probably a touchdown favorite in. So if you want to hedge off then with some money line or take some points with who they're playing, go for it. But I think this is going to be a great ticket to have a month from now.
All right, very quickly, this low Iowa Northwestern total, you got to bet it. Where are you going?
If you gave me 92 cents that you usually have, a 92-cent bonus bet, which is what he usually has in his account, I would play over. Just play over. It's so low. They can't get to
I mean, hell, it was so low last time out for Iowa, and they went under.
A defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, which Iowa does, flips the whole script.
Oh, my God. Minnesota won 12-10 last time out. All right, well done. On the other side, we're battling an NFL hangover here and an overreaction segment to the latest headlines around the league. Stay with us. All right, hour 2 of the Sweat is underway here, everybody. One that includes Judge Buchs.
Oh, nice.
To wrap up the program, some hockey picks as well. Hell, even more college football as Josh will tackle some of his best bets. First things first, though, we're all nursing an NFL hangover. Maybe some of you are right now who are just joining us. So let's get after that with some overreaction, starting with what we just witnessed here on Thursday Night Football. Week 9 kicking off with the Steelers securing a big win against rookie Will Levis and the Titans. So Steelers going this 92-yard drive here in the fourth quarter, Steve, to get the victory. But back to Levis here real quick. Just his second career start. Despite the loss, feels like there were enough encouraging signs to keep him as the starter right now, no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. Like, this was a bad matchup from the jump. I mean, you're facing, one of the best pass rushing defenses in the league in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he actually still performed pretty well. I mean, he was under pressure on 52% of his dropbacks in that game. That's not something he really had to deal with the week prior. In that type of scenario, he still completed 10 of his 18 pass attempts, 101 passing yards, and 5.6 yards per attempt. It was also good to see that he kind of spread out his target share a little bit more, too. Like, he really just focused on DeAndre Hopkins in his first game there, rightfully so. But we had at least 5 different players with at least 3 receptions in that game against the Steelers. Next week, good matchup there against the Bucks. They're really not going to get a lot of pressure on Levis in that scenario, so maybe we see some clean pockets there for him to throw against. But, circumstances all together, I thought he performed pretty well against a team that really gets to the quarterback to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, he showed that he was really not afraid to stand tall in the pocket, showed off just how strong his arm was a few times on Thursday night as well. Ryan Tannehill, his days as a starter in Tennessee, barring any kind of injury here, is over.
Yeah, I think so, Emerson. And again, if you're the Titans, you want to turn the page here from a veteran who you had one good year with Tannehill. But again, this is a young quarterback who's cheap on a rookie deal. Remember in the draft, he was the guy that fell a ton. He was sitting there with his girlfriend. They've now broken up, Emerson, because he fell too far in the draft, maybe.
Which is why he's thriving. No, that's why he's thriving right now. He's out. He's got something to prove.
I think so, too. And again, he did take a step back a little bit because it's hard to replicate that opening game he had against Atlanta. 4 touchdowns, no picks. He had a rating of 130. Then he had to go on a short week at Pittsburgh on the road against a really good defense. He had no touchdowns, threw a pick late, although it was kind of forced because they had no other choice there. Had to throw it to the end zone late. Rating was 66. But again, to me, it's looking at what else do you have in that quarterback room. Again, Tannehill's injured, makes a lot of money. To me, it's an easy switch. Malik Willis, a guy that drafted early in the draft as well. He's got a 118 QB rating, Emerson, but that's kind of a little questionable here just in terms of the spots he's in. They haven't really shown a lot of faith in him overall. To me, Levis is a guy that you are looking forward to continuing to grow and grow with here. And I'm looking at the Titans right now, Emerson. They're 3-5, but their adjusted win total is 6.5. It's just up over -140. If you look at their schedule, there's a lot of winnable games down the stretch. You're going to play Tampa Bay, as Steve mentioned. That's a winnable game. Carolina, Indy. You're playing Houston twice. This is a team that I could look toward the over on. And just one mention, looking toward the board here, Emerson, that total was 37. It landed 36. That was right below the number. Obviously, you needed the Titans not to score late, but if you look at those low totals, and we'll get to the big crazy college low total today with Iowa Northwestern, but when the total is less than 40, the under this year is 11-7, 61%, and there are a lot of matches this weekend. Arizona, Cleveland, Giants, Vegas, Minnesota, Atlanta, Rams in Green Bay. Don't be afraid to take an under on a low total. I think the obvious point is, hey, it's so low, it's got to go over. Test case here that it's a low total for a reason.
And it got there because of that late game-winning touchdown throw by Kenny Pickett. So this could also be a turning point for him in Pittsburgh. But also this past week, guys, we had the trade deadline. It has come and gone. The Washington Commanders shocking the NFL here, Steve, by trading both of their starting defensive ends. We're talking Sweat, we're talking Chase Young. How does this affect your approach to betting the Commanders at your favorite team, the New England Patriots, tomorrow?
Against a great quarterback, by the way, Mac Jones.
That's right. Mac Jones, all of a sudden the pressure's off, and wow, he could really thrive tomorrow, Steve.
Yeah, let's talk about when he has a clean pocket. He still leads the league in turnover-worthy plays with 8. It is 14th in the league in completion percentage at 73% with a clean pocket. Boy, the Washington really did him a lot of favors there. I mean, look, they get rid of Montez Sweat. They get rid of Chase Young. Those two guys combined for 14 sacks on the season.
Yeah.
After that, Casey Tuhill is now the league leader on the Commanders in sacks with 4s. Fours? I don't know why I said fours.
Fours, yeah,
Four.
the fours. Remember the fours?
1, 2,
The great
3,
bar
4.
that used to be over by the garden.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I know.
And,
Pour one out.
and 0 quarterback hurries there for Tuhill. But it's like, okay, so now Mac Jones is going to get all this time to think about who he's going to throw to. Who's it going to be? Demario Douglas? Household name there? Juju Smith-Schuster?
Oh, God,
They
he's
don't
broken.
even want him on the team.
Let
Kendrick Bourne out for the year.
Kendrick Bourne's done for
Yeah,
the year. So
yeah.
who's it going to be like? Tyquan Thornton? They don't even want to play him. Jalen Reagor, like the scrap heap from the Eagles? Like, give me a break. I'm still betting the Commanders, plus 2.5.
Yeah.
Teasing them up to 8.5 if you want to do that too as well. Giving Mac Jones more time to throw is not something you want to do. That's not an advantage for the Patriots.
Okay, so you're saying
that's not something he does well.
Giving him more time to throw could actually hurt you if you're the Patriots. It seemed like you were nodding in agreement with everything he was
Oh,
doing.
now you're
I
against the
agree with
Patriots.
Steve.
Oh, what a fraud.
Steve,
This guy's an
I
absolute fraud.
gotta respect the market. Hey,
Oh
the
my
market is
God.
moving
This
back
guy's
toward
unbelievable.
the Commanders. I'll take the points here. I agree with you on this one, Steve. Couple reasons.
thanks.
One, the media narrative is that Washington's giving up. They've traded away their defensive ends. They're in tank mode at this point. That media narrative is taking hold as this obvious play is take the Patriots at home. Belichick's job is on the line. There's also rumors of Belichick maybe leaving, going to the Commanders in the offseason.
This is
so a lot
great.
of implications, a lot of drama here,
Narrative
Emerson.
streets.
But I would say the late move is coming back toward Washington. I mean, the public's going New England in this one, but Patriots open as low
That's
as
worked out
-2, got up to -3.5. Those 3.5s are down to 3. And as Steve mentioned, a lot of these 3s are juiced up toward Washington, +3 at -115. Like it may get back down to 2.5. So you have short road dogs +3 or less this year who've been doing great. They're 62% ATS. Mac Jones, Steve, you're going to love this. He's only 42% ATS in his career, 16-22. I'm going to look and lean toward Washington the points, but I actually kind of like a sneaky over in this one, Emerson. It's going to be a beautiful day in New England. Weather's going to be perfect, so Steve doesn't have to worry about the wind. And we have seen this total go up. The total opened at 39. It's been up to 40.5, even 41. Tickets are right down the middle, even slight public support for the under, yet this total has risen. This looks like a contrarian over to me, Emerson. I'm looking for some points. Maybe Howell can score a little bit. Maybe Mac Jones does put up more points than usual with no pass rush. I'm going to go over 40.5 with New England, and I'll lean on the Commanders.
You two becoming my favorite rivalry in sports. There is no doubt about it. In terms of biggest winners and losers at the trade deadline, you could make an argument that San Francisco is one of the big winners because now they have Chase Young. How do you view San Fran's title hopes now with Young, who's back together with Bosa? They were wreaking havoc together back in at Ohio State, Josh.
Yeah, so I like the move just in terms of loading up on defense. You can never have too many pass rushers if all these guys can work together with Young and Bosa, Fred Warner. I mean, you got some Armstead in the middle. I mean, you have a really good defensive front here. I'm just worried about the injuries catching up to the 49ers. It feels like every year this happens where when they're healthy, no one can beat them. But then when things break down, this is when you get a little bit nervous about the 49ers. I mean, Brock Purdy, they're 5-3 right now. They're on their bye week. This is obviously great news for them to get some of these guys rested and ready to go and rehab their injuries. Debo's a huge injury. To me, it's Trent Williams, though, Emerson. When you don't have Trent Williams on your offensive line, that really just hurts everything. We've seen how bad offensive lines can really just tank your whole season. So it is a kind of a buy low opportunity now at San Fran just because they've lost 3 straight. I like to target teams when they're not doing well. You're going to get a better price in the futures market. But again, Purdy needs everything perfect. If he's got everyone good to go, they're a formidable team. But if things break down, I think you're asking for too much from him. Their win total right now is 10.5. It's over -145. But they kind of have a tough schedule. And with these injuries, I don't think I kind of disagree a little bit, juiced up over. I mean, they need 6 more wins. I only see really the Bucks and the Rams as layups. I could be intrigued by maybe under 10.5 at +120 with the 49ers.
Young doesn't play quarterback, wide receivers, not on the offensive line there. Do the 49ers have more of like a Brock Purdy problem? Like, how much blame does the young quarterback deserve for this 3-game losing streak?
Well, see, the thing with Brock Purdy is that, like, he hasn't had to come from behind in a lot of these games. And we've seen how he's performed under pressure in the fourth quarter. He's just kind of crumbled in these opportunities when he's been able to come back from behind and get the 49ers a win. Like, it's been something that's been kind of exposed on him at this point because he doesn't have his security blankets. He hasn't had Christian McCaffrey or Debo Samuel. You know, Brandon Ayuk has been great in the meantime, but you're missing 2 key pieces of the offense. Obviously, you know, McCaffrey was playing last week and whatnot, but this team is definitely looking a lot less tougher, or the chink in the armor has been exposed, I guess you could say. And they're definitely loading up on defense because they're really just trying to limit the scoring by the other team and give Purdy those opportunities to get an early lead and stay that way. But yeah, San Francisco's looking a little flimsy lately.
I mean, Brock Purdy spent his bye week farming in Iowa alongside his fiance. You know who you wouldn't find farming in Iowa is Jimmy G. Should San Fran have just kept him at quarterback?
Don't make Steve's head explode. I bet they wish they had him as insurance right now, though.
Idiots.
Other quarterback news, Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs he left Arizona, was shipped off to Minnesota because of Kirk Cousins and his season ending. How soon until he is the man under center for the Vikings, Steve?
Oh, next week. You're going to see him next week.
Okay, because this week it's Jaron Hall, the rookie, who is starting.
Yeah, because look, Jaron Hall's been there since camp. Knows the system, knows the playbook. Easy way to put him in there and have him start. But they got Dobbs for a reason. Dobbs is not going to be the backup in Minnesota. You don't make that trade.
And I think some of the reports say, hey, listen, if they need him to come in, he's going to end up playing, depending on Hall's performance. Too.
Well, that too. I would not be surprised if Dobbs is in there before the game's over too, as well. Okay. He took to Arizona, I thought, pretty well. So I think him to step into Minnesota, do what he has to do, I think he'll be in there. And it's good for their receivers too, Hawkinson, Addison, because they were looking like they were going to take a pretty big bump there without Cousins. So I like Dobbs second.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting as well, Josh, because they're on the road at Atlanta, and Atlanta's going to be with a new quarterback as well. Taylor Heineke is going to be under center for the Falcons. Should be fun. We're going to dive into all the NFL fun stuff tomorrow. We're all NFL all the time on Sundays, at least during NFL season. All right, we got to take a break here on The Sweat, everybody. Coming up, Steve, you can leave. Josh needs you to hang out because we need some of your best bets for college football today.
Get me out of here.
back here live on the Sweat, and as we've discussed already with Jules in this show, Ohio State is the top team in the first set of college football playoff rankings. How much stock is Ryan Day putting into being number one? 0, he says. It means we've got a good start, we got a lot of football ahead of us, and we just got to go to work. At the end of the year, our goal is to be the number one team. Josh Applebaum, does the first edition, the first set of college football rankings change your mind about any college football futures, if at all?
It doesn't change my mind, Emerson, but it actually makes me more bullish on Georgia in this spot because Ohio State getting the number one, kind of ranking right here, totally admit, they're deserving. They've had some big wins. You go to Notre Dame, you had that goal line stuff there at the end. They had that big win over Penn State. But I'm going to hold it against teams that are not in the SEC. I mean, how long do we have to see this movie, Emerson, until we kind of say that, hey, SEC is the best conference in college football, the standard, and the recruits that they get, the best recruits go to that conference. So I'm fine with Ohio State getting a lot of the spotlight right now. That's cool with me because I think Georgia is kind of flying under the radar a bit. And I know Day is trying to say this and kind of walk this fine line of, hey, we're happy to be one, but doesn't mean much. We're looking toward the end of the year. But what does the betting market say, Emerson? This is what's interesting to me. Like the public and coaches and people vote on these things in terms of the rankings, but the betting market is much more efficient than people's opinions. And if you look at the current odds right now to win the college football championship, Georgia's plus 240. They're the favorite. Now Michigan too, they're right there plus 240. Ohio State has the fourth best odds at plus 700. So, the rankings, the kind of giving the number one here to Ohio State, that's cool, but they're only fourth in the eyes of the odds makers. I like Georgia, Emerson. I've put a unit on them earlier this year. I just think the level of their recruits and how deep their team is and the defense they play in the conference they're in, I think Georgia's flying under the radar, and Kirby Smart can use that as ammunition. They don't believe in us. We're not number one. I think it's actually a benefit to Georgia that they're not the number one team.
And news that broke late last night, Connor Stallions, the center of the sign-stealing investigation at Michigan, is out. So we'll see how that impacts.
He'll be rehired by Belichick, though. Don't worry.
It's true. It's true, yeah. Well, no, maybe not. Anywho, games today. Kansas, Iowa State. Kansas is ranked, but the Jayhawks are the underdogs tonight. What do you like in this game?
I like Iowa State here,
do.
Emerson. This is one of my favorite system matches, an unranked home favorite versus a ranked opponent. You know me at this point, Emerson. Different systems are really important to me in terms of what happens in these historical spots over the long term. So number one, let's look how fishy this is just from the start. Kansas is ranked 21st. They're 6-2, yet they're a dog today. That makes no sense, Emerson. What's going on? The public is saying, odds makers, you guys are crazy. Quote unquote, the wrong team is favored. Take Kansas in the points. It's a layup. Better team, better record, ranked. Iowa State unranked. However, the opening line spoke volumes to me. You had Iowa State open as a -1.5 favorite at home. And not only is the public saying taking the cheese here with Kansas, but the line is moving further toward Iowa State. So even though public's on the Jayhawks, Iowa State went from -1.5 up now all the way to -3. Now at -3, key number, I don't love laying that at that point. This is a money line play to me, Emerson. Just win the game. And here's the kind of the stat to back this up. When you look at unranked home favorites versus ranked opponents, on the money line winning the game, since 2017, they are 51-22, 70%. I'm going to bank on the defense of Iowa State. They're only giving up 20 points a game versus 28 for Kansas. And also want to bet against Kansas because they had that big win against Oklahoma. So they're kind of that flashy object of last week pulling off the upset. I also love the bet splits here. Only 40% of bets are on Iowa State, but they're taking into account 80% of the money. That's right up my alley, Emerson. Go against the trendy dog. Late with Iowa State. I'm on the Cyclones on the money line around -145.
All right, they're going to have their hands full. That defense trying to shut down a Jayhawks running game that averages 214 yards a game. Iowa State, though, 3 wins in a row. LSU Bama has your attention. Why is that?
So this is kind of a tough one for me in terms of the betting market versus a system. And I think as a bettor, if you kind of approach betting the way I do, it becomes a judgment call. So the betting market is going to LSU, fully admit. A lot of these early lines where Bama as high as laying 6, laying 5, we're all the way down to 3. So it's undeniable here that some respected money has come in on LSU. About 65% of bets are on Alabama. But Emerson, I love this system match that I have on Alabama tonight. 2 ranked teams take the home favorite. Very simple here, but we've seen it cash consistently throughout the year. We've done a bunch of shows on Saturdays, Emerson, where this system has cash. Oregon, Washington came through in this spot. USC, Notre Dame came through. Penn State, Ohio State. Ohio State came through. Last week it was Duke and Louisville. Louisville came through in this spot. So the fact that you're now down to 3, you missed a lot of the good value there on LSU. You could have gotten 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. To me, it becomes a buy low spot to money line Alabama. Alabama on the money line, they're only like minus 145-ish, minus 150.
Yeah.
To me, that's a definitely bettable number.
I can't see that from over there. Minus 166, I think. Minus 156.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit
like right
higher
now.
at that point. But the other thing here, Emerson and Julian mentioned this when he was talking about the game, revenge angle. Remember last year, LSU, got to give them credit. They went for 2. They won the game 32-31 in overtime. Nick Saban, I think, remembers that. And I think he's going to have this team ready to go here for tonight. So again, 2 ranked teams take the home favorite. It is now 82% since 2016.
All right, Crimson Tide taking control of the SEC West. Another SEC throwdown. This is a good one, dude. Mizzou and Georgia. Mizzou's given them a scare in the past.
That is true. And again, the betting market has moved a little bit to Mizzou. You had some of these shops that were Georgia laying 16. You're now down to 15.5, 15. So again, got to respect a little movement here toward Mizzou. But I think Mizzou is becoming a bit of a trendy dog. It's about 50-50 bet split, and you really never get Georgia in that kind of situation here. I mean, Georgia's typically laying 20 or more, and they're getting 70-80% of bets. So I think the public also, Emerson, seeing 2 ranked teams, they're like, hey, give me the dog. I know Georgia will probably win the game, but 2 touchdowns, that's a lot here to lay. But I think it's big for a reason. So I'm going to actually go and lay the points here with Georgia in this spot. Same system match. 2 ranked teams take the home favorite. I gave you the money line there a second ago on Alabama, which was great, 82% since 2016. But here's the thing, Emerson. Georgia's minus 700. That is way too high to lay. You're risking way too much, not getting enough in return. So this is just going to be a spread play for me. 2 ranked teams take the home favorite. It's 14-2 ATS this year. It's 61% since 2016. And here's another stat for you, Emerson. Kirby Smart, when he's laying big points, minus 10 to minus 20. Okay. He's 19-6 against the spread, 76% at Georgia. So I'm going to lay the points with Georgia. I think they roll in this one, win by 20 or more.
I mean, Kirby Smart is 7-0 against Missouri. Again, we remember last year's close call, but the last 3 games, how about this, at Sanford Stadium, have not been close. Bulldogs won by an average of nearly 30 points per game.
Let's have a repeat today, Emerson.
Okay.
I'd like to see that. Another 30-point win.
That's what you want. What do you expect when K-State and Texas clashed here?
So same sort of thing. I would lump Texas kind of in that Alabama position where the line is going away from them, but it creates an opportunity to, again, back the system. This is the name of the game for me today, these system matches. So we open this game, K-State as high as getting like 8.5, 7.5 on the look-ahead line, kind of reopen at some shops around 5. We're now down to 3.5, so this line definitely has moved toward Texas. But again, if you're betting Kansas State right now, you're getting the worst of it. To me, at this point, it's a buy low spot on Texas. And again, Texas, you're kind of buying low in the situation of, hey, Quinn Ewers is hurt. That's kind of a public detriment where public is a little bit wary. Unless you're Matthew McConaughey, Emerson. I mean, he's gonna hook them no matter what. But to me, it's a buy low spot, again, on Texas. 2 ranked teams take the home favorite, 82% since 2016 ATS. Also, Malik Murphy, who's kind of come in here for Quinn Ewers. Mm-hmm. I think he looks pretty decent. He's a true freshman, which is a young kid, and you're worried about experience, but he stepped in last week.
Yeah, he was okay in his starting debut.
Yeah, 2 TDs, 1 pick, 217 yards. They blew out BYU 35-6. Texas is 6-0 straight up their last 6 against K-State. So, again, I think you got to respect the move toward K-State, but I'm money lining Texas here because of this system match.
Steve Sarkisian 2-0 against Kansas State. His Longhorns have also covered in both games. Let's go to the Pac-12 best conference in college football. UCLA, Arizona. Some quarterback intrigue here as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Arizona. I like this angle here. Late night. Emerson, I don't know what we're doing late night tonight, but you better stay up late enough.
I will not.
Get an adult beverage.
5 a.m. to get in to host the show, which I absolutely love and enjoy. I'll be in bed early.
Well, I got to stay up for this one, so it might be a long day for me tomorrow. But I like Arizona in this spot. Kind of one of my favorite system matches would be that unranked home dog versus a ranked opponent. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the ultimate buy low, sell high. Now, the line did move a little bit toward UCLA in this one. UCLA opened around -2, got up to -3. But once we got to the key number of 3, a ton of buyback here on Arizona, Emerson. They went from +3 down to 2.5. This is a great opportunity to shop for the best line, try to get that 3. It's also a 10:30 game here tonight, so late night contrarian play where this is what I call the chase game, Emerson. And if the public has a good day today, they're going to go the late game and double down, triple down on UCLA. If the public has a tough day today, which obviously the books are rooting for, this will be a chase spot to get it all back with UCLA with these late games. And UCLA is ranked. They're ranked. Arizona is not. Arizona's only getting around 35% of bets, but they're getting 65% of the money. So a pretty good low bets, higher dollar bet split. And Arizona, Emerson, they've been playing pretty well against ranked opponents. They are 3-1 at home. UCLA is only 2-2 on the road. Arizona's 4-0 against the spread against ranked opponents. This is their 5th straight ranked opponent they're facing. Oregon State, Washington State, USC, Washington. They've covered against all these really good teams. Try to get the 3 if you can get it. I like Arizona Wildcats tonight.
We do get an extra hour of sleep, which gives you an extra
Gonna
hour
need that.
to
I need that.
get
And I got to bring in donuts too.
Yes,
so yeah,
that is very true. So very quickly here, this total for this Iowa State game.
Low for a reason.
Or Iowa Northwestern in Chicago.
It ticked up a little bit, but I got to go under in this one.
Okay, Jules is going over. You're going under.
13
Another
to 10,
bet for
Emerson.
donuts, baby. Still ahead. We'll talk some sticky puck, people. We're going streaking, baby. Chris Kreider and the Rangers. How real are they? Or is it just another mirage? jam-packed Saturday night around the NHL. And we've got not one but two dudes here to help you build a money-making lineup on DraftKings. DK Network contributor Jeff Ulrich on the left, NHL.com's Pete Jensen on the right. 15 games, 30 teams going at it on this Saturday slate, gentlemen. One that includes the surging Rangers here, a team that plays under the league's brightest lights. We're talking 6 straight wins right now. How real, Jeff, is this hot start compared to previous seasons, or is it just another mirage?
I don't think it's a mirage. The Rangers are a really good defensive team. They have really solid goaltending. Jonathan Quick's been good over there. Obviously, Shesterkin is Shesterkin. I still think they need to up it a little bit, like 5-on-5, but their power play has obviously been great. New York's an elite team. If they can just keep this rolling and obviously Shesterkin keeps standing on his head, it'll keep going. So I think calling it a mirage is silly. They have had an easy schedule, played Calgary and Edmonton, but I think you're going to see them hold up a little bit better this season than they have in previous seasons. Whether they can get all the way and maybe take out some of the elites in the playoffs, like I said, we'll see if they add anyone at the deadline. I still think they're maybe a player or two away, but it's looking pretty good for the Rangers. And I do think it'll keep going here for the short term.
Pete, they just completed a 5-0 road swing here. That's the first time they've swept the trip of at least 5 games in 97 years. How sustainable is this success?
I think it's sustainable for sure because the strengths of the team are being utilized here. You have Shesterkin, like Joff said, standing on his head. You have the Rangers among the top 3 fewest goals allowed in the league and among the top 3 power plays in the league. One concern I have about this group is their most recent game. They lost Adam Fox and Philip Hedl to injuries. So something to keep an eye on there. If they're missing Fox, that's one of their most valuable players to the individual team here. But as far as the Rangers, they're also under Peter Laviolette, the first-year coach. They're utilizing Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere in top 6 roles, which is something that each of the 2 prior coaching regimes failed to do effectively, right? Whether it was David Quinn or Gerard Gallant. And for them to be having this level of success while doing it is a big step forward for this youth movement in the organization and the franchise overall.
Well, Pete, maybe those injuries open the door for some value plays in DFS. Is there someone on the Rangers you would target as a good fantasy play tonight?
Well, Blake Wheeler's been quiet so far this season, but if Hedl's going to be missing potentially, maybe some bounce back appeal there, I would look at Lafreniere a little bit. Whether he's playing with Trocheck or he's playing with Hedl or even playing up top with Zibanejad. He's been playing a little bit more right wing this year, has, 4 or 5 goals already. So it's been impressive to see his career progression. And, for the right price point, the top 6 role seems to be a fixture. So, you can't say that yet about Blake Wheeler. Maybe that's a little bit more of a shot in the dark, but I would go with Lafreniere here, and I like what I've been seeing from him so far under Laviolette.
Jeff, looks like you're nodding in agreement. Which Ranger would make for a good DFS play?
Yeah, we bring up the injuries. Adam Fox likely going to be out, obviously. So I think Eric Gustafsson could get a bounce up. I'd actually probably take a look on the back end, Kondre Miller or Jacob Trouba. I expect Trouba may take on a bigger role with Fox out. He's certainly handled, power play duties in the past, but I like the Lafreniere call as well. It's a really good matchup. The Wild, I believe they're still last in penalty kill here. Lafreniere getting power play exposure. Again, everyone's going to go to Kreider here, who's obviously the power play specialist. That's pretty obvious. And yes, definitely, if you want to stack Trocheck, Kreider, Zibanejad, that's absolutely fine. But I think that if you're looking for, a value play, Lafreniere, potentially Trouba, those 2 would be a good combo as well. You're going to see, obviously, everyone with Fox maybe take on a little bit of a bigger role. So good matchup here against the Wild, who've really struggled in net so far this year.
Well, Jeff, who does not make for a good fantasy play tonight? That'd be Charlie McAvoy of the Bruins, because he's serving a 4-game suspension right now. How much will his absence hurt Boston, do you think, who won the first game without him on Thursday night in a shootout?
This is why the Bruins went out and got Hampus Lindholm, right? They didn't just want to rely on one player and Charlie McAvoy to carry them. McAvoy's obviously a really solid player. They're going to miss him, but I think that, the Bruins will be just fine. They still have extremely solid goaltending overall. They're still pretty deep, 3-4 line team even. So it's pretty tough to say that, that the Bruins are just going to fall apart just because McAvoy's out. I think that they've kind of gone beyond just relying on one single player here, but it does hurt a little bit. I mean, McAvoy to me was still, him and Lindholm potentially, together were their best sort of all around defensemen. So whenever you lose a player of that caliber, it does hurt you a little bit in the short term. I would suggest, you may not see it for the first game as we didn't, but as you go in, if they're playing an elite team coming up, it's definitely not a spot that I'd necessarily be willing to sort of jump all over Boston on. I think for DFS purposes, Kevin Shattenkirk probably going to get more power play time. Probably a good target with McAvoy out. I would suggest Lindholm as well. So I would be thinking more just in terms of like who's going to get the opportunity. Lindholm and Shattenkirk probably the two players you want to target for DFS with McAvoy out.
All right, Pete, he is appealing his suspension, but let's say he does miss the next 3 games and completes what is originally a 4-game suspension here. We're talking at the Red Wings tonight. Then you are at the Stars on Monday, followed by a home game against the Islanders.
Right, and this is a trap game for sure. They still don't have a regulation loss this season, and Detroit could certainly hand it to them in this matchup if McAvoy does not play. So, don't hesitate to, despite the Bruins record, go pretty heavy on the Red Wings, whether it's Gostisbehere or, one of their secondary guys, or even spending up for DeBrincat or Larkin or Lucas Raymond, depending on the price points. That has been a fire first line so far this season. And, if you're looking for external guys, if you want to avoid the Bruins on defense, you could certainly look at a team like the Coyotes. And, one guy that's really wowed me so far this season is Sean Durzi. I feel like he's been producing more nights than not, coming over from the LA Kings. And whether you're in season long or sometimes you see a matchup and you don't really like it from that team's perspective. So don't hesitate to just fade the Bruins defense. And Hampus hasn't really done much this season. So I would advocate for Sean Durzi on D for the Arizona Coyotes, who are a red hot offense right now. Let's be real.
Jeff, who do you like on the blue line tonight?
I think Rasmus Dahlin of the Sabres is actually a pretty interesting target. I mean, Toronto hasn't really been great on the power play. I think most people will just be looking at the Leafs in that game. So, again, we got a big slate on Saturday. Sabres offense really took off in the last game. I think this will be a high-scoring game. I think you'll see goals on both sides. So, Dahlin's good. You could look to Shea Theodore. It's a pretty tough matchup against the Colorado Avalanche. And I think the other player I really like, again, looking at Tampa Bay here, really soft matchup going up against the Ottawa Senators. Still not good on the power play. I mean, Victor Hedman to me is a player that I would not, hesitate to pay up for in this game. Sergachev is another player for Tampa, still, getting consistent power play time. So I think the Lightning make a lot of appeal to look to on the blue line against Ottawa.
Pete, let's go up front. What about in the forward position here? I mean, not even Connor McDavid is enough to save Jeff's Oilers. Who do you like in DFS tonight?
I'll give you 2 names. So if you haven't checked, if you play fantasy or you're betting, check out the NHL Edge stats page on our website. It's brand new as of this past week. And a couple of takeaways that I found on NHL.com today. Alex Iafallo, 3rd most high danger shots on goal in the entire league behind Austin Matthews and John Tavares. If you haven't checked recently, Iafallo is playing on the Winnipeg Jets right now. He came over in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, playing on their top line with Scheifele and Connor. So you got to love that exposure. And he's getting those opportunities. Had a multi-point game on Thursday. So definitely knocking at the door and starting to take flight is Iafallo. And also Sean Monahan, 4-game goal streak for the veteran that had a nice little heyday with the Calgary Flames back in the day, but hasn't been anything since really. But he's playing on the first power play, has 3 power play goals this season. And the wrinkle with him with the Edge stats is that he's top 5 in high danger shots on goal and high danger goals. So not only is he getting those opportunities, he's cashing it at a really high rate right now for Montreal.
Yeah, Jeff, I know you're kissing Edmonton Stanley Cup hopes goodbye right now. Who else, maybe besides Draisaitl or McDavid, would you be looking at the forward position? They were held scoreless Thursday night in their latest loss.
Oh, God. It's getting ugly. I like Matthew Tkachuk, to be honest, if I can say his name properly. The Panthers playing Chicago here. You look at Tkachuk, got like a 2% success shot rate right now. I mean, his career percentage is like 12%. He's getting a ton of shots per net. He's hit the shot on goal bonus twice for DFS. The goals just haven't gone in. He's got one goal. I think it's a really good chance you see Tkachuk break out with a multi-goal game soon. That positive regression I love playing for. I think this is a really good spot for him. I like Florida in general in this matchup, but Tkachuk is a guy in these, especially against this weaker team like the Blackhawks, I would really like taking a shot with for DFS.
All right, gentlemen, your job here is done. Again, a loaded slate tonight around the NHL. One that includes, in my opinion, the game of the night, Avs and the Golden Knights. Golden Knights 10-0-1 right now. Absolutely ridiculous. We have one final break to go, one final block to go. I need everyone to be on their best behavior because Judge Buchs is in the house. that was our final break of the show, which means this is our final block of the show. And Josh,
let's finish strong.
Rise
Emerson.
up, all rise for the Honorable Judge Buchs and that new girthy gavel that you have there in your hands.
I mean, it just shows that the show has been a success when we get the budget to get this on the show.
I mean, it shows how serious you are and how seriously you take this segment in which you will be handing out guilty, bad or not guilty, good bets here. You will be judging because that's what a judge does. So we were told by producer Drew, we got to have some World Series bets ready for him to judge. I'd like you to go first.
All right, so.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, here we go.
What are you giggling about over there,
gavel's
sir?
already up. The gavel's already up.
Truth be told, I was going to pick the Baltimore Orioles, but then I'll be accused of, sucking up to Steve.
Yeah,
Steve
being
mentioned
a
earlier
copying
in
his
the
homework.
program, copying his homework, plus 1,600. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. Now, the Texas Rangers just won the World Series. Does anyone remember what they were going into the year? Plus 5,000. They were a pretty big dog here, not expected to make a ton of noise. So I'm looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook right now, looking at the futures for 2024. Who's in that range? Let's start with teams around plus 4,000 to plus 600. The Reds, the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Miami Marlins, Detroit Tigers, Guardians, Pirates. I don't really love any of those teams listed there. Good. To me, the question is who's going to spend some money and maybe follow the blueprint of Texas. Maybe you got a decent roster, but open up the checkbook, get the owner to spend some money. So I'm going to now be called a Homa with my Duncan and my Homa and my Red Sox pick, but I'm looking at the Red Sox plus 2,200, Steve. Now, I can already tell that you hate this pick, but I would just say the Red Sox have done this before. They're very, kind of 1 year you're terrible, then you overreact and spend too much money the next year. In 2012, the Red Sox went 69-93. No. What happened the next year, 2013? They won the World Series. So they'll either be last place or win the World Series, and everyone is so down on the Red Sox because they're not spending money. Emerson, let me tell you, they got a new GM, Craig Breslow. What did he say in his opening press conference? We need pitching. We need a right-handed bat. What if the Red Sox go out and sign Blake Snell and Yamamoto and bring in Teoscar Hernandez and make a trade for a second baseman?
Yeah.
If they spend some money, and John Henry's done it
Shohei,
before.
right? Don't forget about Shohei.
He can only hit, though, Emerson. He can't pitch. That could be a detriment there. I would still definitely take him out of place. But where are we going to put Alex Verdugo if we can have Shohei? We got to find a spot in the lineup. Again, crazy, but it's happened before. Last place to World Series. Red Sox plus 2,200.
No, sorry, dude. It's a different time and era there. But I'm not the judge. You are.
I'll tell you, I was about to knock this gavel down and say guilty of being a bad bet. But then Josh did a little mimic voice, and I love doing that. Oh, we're going to put on Verdugo. That won me over then and there. Okay. I will say one thing though. So I'm going to give him a not guilty. It's not. It's not terrible. I do think they're going to go out and spend some money. I don't think Josh's plan is what they're going to do by making 19,000 moves and spend $2 billion like Josh wants them to do. But at the current price, the influx of stuff going on in the AL East, it's not bad. But it's not good either. But no, do not bet World Series futures today. Wait.
Yes, that's true. You mentioned that earlier in the show. I'm going to stay in the AL East. And originally, when we were talking before the show, and this was a no-no. I shouldn't have talked to the judge about this. I also was thinking the Orioles, young core, year older, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to go one behind them.
Toronto?
I'm going to go Blue Jays. Ooh. Yeah, give me a healthy Vlad Guerrero. Give me the two righties.
He was healthy all year.
No, he wasn't. Not mentally, okay? And then Chris Bassett, Kevin Gausman head the rotation. All right, this team has what it takes, Judge Buchs, to leapfrog the club's favorite ahead of them if everything falls into place just right. It was a disappointing end to the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. Judge Buchs, not guilty.
Guilty.
What? No,
guilty.
Come on.
That's a horrible bet. No, that's
Should I have done a voice, Steve? Should I have done a voice?
Yeah. Move
Why?
on.
Why is that bad?
Grow
up. Figure it out.
No.
All right, I've got another one for you. And this is not me, by the way. On October 22nd, a bettor put nearly $2,700 down on the Patriots to win the freaking Super Bowl at plus 40,000 odds. The payout would be north of $1 million. I don't think the jury really needs to gather around and talk to each other very long about this one. Am I correct?
So I had to think about this because it's also a very weird number. It's $2,689. So
does that mean anything?
I'm trying to decipher this. So I sat at home and I was thinking about this. Why would this happen? How could this happen? And I came to one rational conclusion. The person who owns this account just cheated on their wife.
Oh, whoa.
She found out.
Oh my God. Personal. This is getting really deep.
She found out, went on to his DraftKings Sportsbook account, drained the account.
I see where you're going.
And put it on a bet that has no shot of winning, because that is the only rational explanation.
I don't know.
For somebody to put almost $3,000 on a team that currently their implied total to win the Super Bowl on DraftKings Sportsbook is 0.03%. There are long shots.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to bet something on the Patriots, you should just listen to me, because I already have this nailed down. On September 6th, go look at that tweet. That's something you can bet on and make some money. You can go on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, go to the wins tab, take an alternate total of 5.5 wins to go under 175. On September 6th, I said this team would be lucky to be 2-6 by the time Week 9 rolls around. It is Week 9. They are 2-6.
Damn, Judge. Wow.
Damn,
Judge.
Judge.
Love that.
Judge.
You want to have the Patriots fortune teller? He's right here.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, I looked into the crystal ball. They're not winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, you know, if a wife was to do that, she would take the near.
Somebody thinks that they are.
The wife would have taken the nearly $2,700 and gone to like Gucci or maybe gone Hambo.
You know what the handle on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl it probably is currently right now? What did this guy bet? $2,689. That's the total handle on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, all right. Let's see what he thinks about this one. So we had $30,000 on the Bills on October 4th at plus 800 to win $240K. So that was right after they beat the Dolphins, and we're 3-1. So guilty, not guilty. What are we doing?
Guilty of a bad bet.
Okay.
Guilty of a bad bet. A month ago, this team was minus 600 to make the playoffs. They're right now minus 180. They have a tough schedule coming up. You look at the next 6 games they have to play. Bengals, could be a loss. Broncos, okay. Jets, okay, give them that. Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys.
Oof.
Right after that.
Yeah, I guess those
brutal
home
schedule.
or away.
There is no guarantee right now for one of the perceived Super Bowl favorites before the season began that they even make the playoffs at this point. I think right now, if you're going to bet something, miss the playoffs for the Buffalo Bills. I think it's actually a possibility that could happen. Because you know what the worst thing about all of this is?
What?
For as much as we rag on the Jets, they're 4-3 right now?
Yeah.
They're still hanging around at this point. For as bad as that team has,
there it
I have
is.
a gavel. They're still hanging around.
Yeah.
I think right now the Bills miss playoffs. I think that would be not guilty for a good bet.
And that was by far their best game of the season, right? That's when they blew out the Dolphins. Everyone's like, the Dolphins are frauds. The Bills are back, and now the Bills have just relied so heavily on hero ball between him and Diggs.
What if they go 2-4 over that stretch of games? I don't think that's irrational.
Under 9.5 win totals, minus 155. I think that's doable. So miss the playoffs or 9 wins or less.
Stop sucking up.
Well,
and give us your NFL prop bet here that he can judge.
So he's going to love this one. It's not Mac Jones. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's Steve's third favorite quarterback in the NFL. Guy comes from BYU, Zach Wilson. This guy can sling the football. He's getting better each week.
He's leading his team. Picking on his bye week 2 weeks ago?
With,
Why do you know what they're all
somebody
doing
picked up at the watering hole.
I'm a reporter.
But I would say Wilson, over 213.5 passing yards. Can he get you 214 or more? He's going up against the Chargers, the worst pass defense in the NFL. Steve, look at the quarterbacks and what the Chargers have given up this year. 424 to Mahomes, 272 to Prescott, 238 to Aiden O'Connell. 367 to Cousins, 246 to Tannehill, 466 to Tua. Mm-hmm. And again, this is a guy who gave up Tyson Bagent, went for 232 last week. So give me Zach Wilson over 213.5. Book it.
Come on.
Not guilty.
Dude,
nice.
What are you doing?
Woo!
What is happening to you? You've gotten soft on us.
I've not gotten soft. I was just talking about some guy getting cheated on.
You are. Okay,
wrap it up, Emerson.
That's it. We got to go. We're all NFL tomorrow, 8 to 10 o'clock. Let's go. We'll see you then. Whoa!